Hey everybody, my name is Alex Coombs, and the vulnerable population that I chose to focus on were individuals in remote rural regions of the world, and in specific our country. So, 97% of the land mass in the United States is considered rural by the Census Bureau, but only 20% of our population is actually found in that area. The great majority of our nation's population is found on the coasts and in urban centers such as New York, large cities in Florida, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle. All of those cities hugging the coast is where most of our population lives. But the huge chunk in the middle is where I will be focusing on the population that's found there. The reason that makes them vulnerable, simply their location. They're so far from these urban centers where they have large hospitals, where they have resources that make adequate healthcare a possibility. And another reason they're vulnerable is because the education levels typically are much lower in these rural areas than you would find in a urban metropolitan city. So the size of the population, locally, I'm in Salt Lake County, and it's considered a metropolitan area, and we have a population of approximately 1.14 million here in this area. Rural, you have to go outside. So in our state of Utah, 21 of the 29 counties in Utah are considered rural, so a big majority. Nationally, only 18% of the U.S. citizens in our country live in rural areas, and internationally, almost half of the world lives in a place that is considered rural. So some social determinants of health that make this population vulnerable are, number one, their economic stability, number two, their education, and three, their health and health care. Economically speaking, this population is vulnerable because there aren't a lot of options for work in these low populous areas and remote areas. There are very few industries in these areas, with the main one being agriculture, another being manufacturing. There just isn't as much variety of employment opportunities as there would be in a metropolitan area, making them economically unstable in comparison. Education levels is a big one for this population. Due to the location of these rural communities, it's not as appealing for quality educators to head out that way. And with less people, there just isn't as big of a motivation to become educated. And then low access to healthcare resources. It makes it really hard to get care for, let's say, if you have pancreatic cancer, and you're living in the middle of Texas where the closest hospital is 100 miles away. That hospital may not have an oncologist that specifically works with your type of cancer, so you may have to travel even farther to, let's say, Houston or Dallas to be able to get in contact with somebody that's able to care for your very specific ailment. So some very specific contributing factors to their vulnerability is that, for example, primary industry in these areas is agriculture. Labor, hard labor, farm hands, these jobs typically do not pay very well, which results in poverty for a lot of these households living in these remote areas. Poverty, as we know, kind of goes hand in hand with poor health outcomes. If you can't afford to eat, how can you be expected to eat healthily When the cheapest thing you can get is a McDonald's Big Mac, that's what you're going to get instead of sweet potatoes and kale. Just try and stay healthy. Another specific in education is the United States Department of Agriculture did a survey and found that only 20% of the adults aged 25 and older have a bachelor's degree. Then they compared this to urban areas and found that 35% of that same group had bachelor's degree in metropolitan communities. That's almost double. It makes it hard for these rural communities to be educated about health and have high health literacy if such a small fraction of their population is receiving higher education. Makes it the communities much more susceptible to misinformation. The perfect example is smoking. You'll see a lot of smoking in rural areas in comparison to metropolitan areas. Today, that wasn't the case 20 years ago, but that is the case today. Another specific is that their access to healthcare, they just don't have as many people there, which in turn makes it so they don't have as many healthcare workers, which means you can't staff a hospital or a critical care clinic, or you can't have multiple companies or even a company for like ambulance services, getting people to the places that they need to go. So it just makes them vulnerable to poor health outcomes, not being able to have that access, these things that we take for granted here in a metropolitan area. So when I was looking at what our root causes of vulnerability were, I narrowed it down to education. According to the Centers for Disease Control, people in rural America are much more likely to smoke, not wear a seatbelt, they exercise less, they eat more unhealthy foods, and they die more commonly from unintentional injuries. I believe that this could be helped with greater education, campaigns in these rural communities, putting emphasis on the importance of not smoking or the importance of eating vegetables. That education could go a long way to help reducing their vulnerability and just making them aware of what's good for them and what actually causes them harm. So, according to Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, there are a few things that we need to look at in these rural communities about what they are meeting and what they are not. They are meeting physiological needs. They're able to care for themselves for the most part, typically. Like I said, this is very stereotypical, but it works for most of it. So they meet physiological and love and belonging needs. The biggest one is the safety needs that they don't meet. Personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. A bunch of those, such as employment, it can be sporadic in these areas. Health, you just don't have access like you would. So we anticipate the functional level for this population to be moderate. They can care for themselves in a way, but they do not have access to health care that they may need, and just because of their economic instability, with the lack of jobs in these areas, we just anticipate that they won't function as well as somebody in a metropolitan area. So for communicable diseases or infections, this is very applicable right now with COVID-19. Rural communities have the advantage of being very far apart, so you don't catch the disease as much, but their social determinants of health, like the education and all that, does correlate with their ability to cope with and treat communicable diseases. If they're not properly educated on hand hygiene or social distancing, an outbreak could happen very easily. As far as non-communicable diseases or infections, they do have a higher prevalence of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, chronic lower respiratory disease, and stroke. These are due to lifestyle choices mostly that could be solved with proper education. Self-care and self-harm in these communities. According to data from the FBI, violent crimes in rural communities is less than the national average. Metropolitan and urban populations make up the majority of violent crimes. However, suicide is very prevalent in these populations. There was a study from 1997 to 2017. They measured suicides in urban communities and rural communities. In urban communities, they saw a 16% increase over that 18-year period, and in rural communities, they saw a 53% increase. So huge difference between the two that I think can be narrowed down to the availability of mental health resources. We just covered that, and that's it. Thanks.